Hello, we are here working on the very last of our signatures. So let's get started with our base page. Let me get some of this out of the way. This is the piece that I chose to use. And on the back side is the larger image of the little girl, the little witch, and then the cat in the book. But this is the side I wanted. Now, this being for the back right panel, it will be larger than what we've been playing with. It's going to be the same size as the front left panel. So this is going to measure in at 8.5 inches across, and it will be 8 3/4 of an inch in the height. Okay, so what we're going to build here first is a waterfall. These are going to be 4 by 6 when we're done. So you will cut 4 pieces that will measure 6.5 inches by 4. You will score on at a 1/2 inch on the long side here. Well, that doesn't. Okay, I think these are 4. Let me just double check. Yeah. Okay, and then what I did is I cut a piece that is 4 inches by 2 inches, and that's what I am going to attach these to. Now, if you have a preference for making a waterfall, by all means. But once I get these attached to this piece, then I will glue this piece or tape this piece down here. So, and then I went through the scraps, and we're right at the tail end of a lot of the big scraps. So I picked on 2, which way did these go? They went this way, I think. This was the long one, and because these are 4 inches, this right here is only 3.5. So I've left this 1/2 inch tab up here. Actually, I trimmed it down 1/2 inch so that I could fit these onto these panels and be able to cover them up. That way I'm not cutting into a fresh 12 by 12 sheet. These are going to be covered with photos, so you'll see just probably a very slight edge, so it doesn't matter that there's this little top piece on all of them. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to get these all mounted. All right, so let's get started here. I think I need to burnish this one though. Don't do that, please. Stick it right there on the corner. Make sure that I'm even. And I did round with the 1/4 inch corner round. And then I'm going to butt right up to this end and right up next to that other hinge. Well, so this should line up evenly. So far, so good. And then the last one. I find this to be so much easier when I'm getting ready to put it down. It's easier to line up to this little piece on the back that I'm attaching to keep things square so that they all line up. And now we'll glue or tape this down, and I'm going to put it in about like so that she's still showing here on the bottom. And I think I'm going to use glue. I don't see any reason to put tape on this piece here. Come on. Oh no. Maybe I will be taping after all. Hold on. Let's see if I can get this cleaned out just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so I want this about here. Now hopefully I set that in there even before it sets up. So I'm at 1 3/8. I'm a little bit low here. So 1 3/8, 1 3/8. There we go. All right, now I'm going to start gluing these panel pieces in. Okay, I'm going to stick this under there so I've got some color contrast. And then this last piece. And then you have a nice big spot back here to put another photo mat. I'm going to cut, I forgot to do it, but I am going to cut some strips to cover these. I will do that after we're done. I'll cut, they will be 3/8 of an inch wide by almost the length of this, and I will cut up 4 of them so that I can cover this here. But I'll do that, like I said, afterwards. All right, so that's done. Let's work on getting our first panel in. Okay, right side panel. This is going to come in at 5 1/8 by 8 3/4. You will have a 1/2 inch score and a 5/8 score. I want a big enough hinge here to allow for this buildup. So that means we need to make sure that that hinge is sitting on the top. So we're going to come up to the 1/2 inch score line. I'm going to push that back. Okay, now let's get the next side put on. It will now be for your left side. This is going to measure in at 6 3/4 of an inch by 8 3/4, half-inch score, 5/8 of an inch score. And once again, we're going to come right up to that half-inch score line. Okay, that one's a little bit better. All right, we're going to put on our next panels. Excuse me while I separate things here. So your right side panel is going to come in at 7.5 inches across by 8 3/4 in the height. This time you're going to score at 1/2 and you're going to score at 3/4. We need this hinge to absorb this hinge. So to do that, this one will be on the side now, not the top. This is what it would look like if it was on the top. We don't need that. We just need this to absorb. So we're going to turn this over and we're going to be right on top of that 3/4 score mark. And you're going to have a little bit of height here. I'm going to turn this over and burnish it. Oh, look at that. I did not get that on there straight. What a goofy girl. I was not paying attention. And I don't know if I shared with you. I want the tape to stay here, so I put the tape release, my undo, up here. If I wanted this tape to stay here, then I would have put the undo back here. But I just want that tape to stay right where it is. Ooh, squeaky. There we go. Okay. And then our left side panel is going to be 5.5 inches across, 8 3/4 in the height, and again you're going to score it at 1/2 and you're going to score it at 3/4. Same installation. You're going to come right up to that 3/4 inch score mark, and then you're going to fold this over. Oh, that didn't go in there right. It's giving me just now this one's going to be a little different because I've got a couple of layers here, so I'm just going to go in between them here. I had some pushback going on there. There we go. Give that a chance to dry. I'll cap that off. All right, now I have to look at my... This is going to open, so here's your left panel, here's your right panel. So the right is going to open up, so it's right over left. So we're going to put our magnet here. And then, sorry, I've got to reach over there. Okay, so I'm going to center this. And I'm going to tape it down. And then I'll get putting stuff on the panels. If you have a nice thick piece, I'll show you that some of the magnets, get my head out of the way here, I am so sorry. God, that's strong. Some of the magnets I use, I buy off Amazon, and they come in these long rolls. Well, it gets really hard to separate these, but luckily I got a set that had a hard plastic washer that came with them. So I saved several of them. So when I get to this big roll, whoops, that I can put it down here so that there's a separation. Or you can use a piece of cardstock to help separate them. But I love these washers, and I cannot, so don't ask, I cannot find them. They're no longer available. So that's why I'm lucky I kept some of the washers. Save that. And then we're going to tape this down. Okay, so let's get back in here. All right. So you have a piece on the back side was the book. And this should be the other side of the book. But I want this side. So this is what we're going to put down. And I can glue them because there's no magnets on these pages. Just sneak up to that score line. And then we're going to do the same over here. Now I'm putting in, oh, I forgot something. Oh, stop. I forgot something. Okay. Oh my gosh, I hope I didn't mess you guys up. I really hope I didn't. So when I trimmed, see, when out of sight, out of mind. When I trimmed this piece, I came up the 8 3/4 inches that I needed this base piece to be. That meant I cut off the entire top piece. Well, that entire top piece it's quite lovely, actually. It is the rest of this piece where you've got the lantern and you've got the old limb from the tree and you got a spider web. So I wanted to include this. You're going to make a piece cardstock that's going to measure 8 1/2 inches in the length, and then it's going to measure at 3 3/8 in the height of it, and you will score then at 1/2 inch. That is going to wrap around right here, right at the top, like so. So let me get this turned over, and you'll bring it right up to that score line, and you'll need to balance it in between these hinges here. So I want to make sure that's sitting there right. Come this way just a fraction. Ta-da. Okay, fold it over. All right, so then this piece, you will trim it so that the lantern continues. So your trim is actually going to come off this end, and you won't be trimming very much, if anything, off this end. So when you put your black cardstock down, you will line these up and then make your pencil mark so that you're about 1/16 from the edge, and then you're going to attach it. See, I cut from the wrong end, and I had to tape it back together. And then we'll just line that right up. And then you're going to turn this over. And you have a scrap piece that has a moon. And these look like little bats or birds. I just noticed that. And we're going to glue this on. Now, if you want to use this side, that's fine. The spider web's going to be somewhat upside down, but there's a reason I did it this way. Took this little witch out of the ephemera, and I'm going to place her right here. So she's sitting in the sky looking up at the moon. Get these little tiny pieces so they don't snag on anything. Okay. And I'll burnish from this side. And while I'm here, I took this out of the framed cutouts, put it on some black cardstock, and I put a 1/4 inch worth of tape. I'm saying it that way because I used 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to put it right here. And then that way, if you so desire, you've got a nice tuck up here for a small item. All right, so now that completes the inside of this. So let's get back to these panels. You go someplace, but I have to remember where I put you. All right, so we're going to have a pocket over here, and I chose the most colorful piece that I have. And here is the other half. It was a wide piece. There should be, it's going, this is upside down. Because this is what it trimmed off of. This is what it looked like. So that half is going to go here, and this half is going to go over here. This measured at 1 1/4 inches in the width, and it's still 8 3/4 in height. And I used really skinny tape so that I could maximize the pocket as much as possible. So we'll follow that up, that score line. And then we're going to glue this in. Flowers at the top, spider web at the bottom. And then, so I'm going to turn this on its side so that I can see what I'm doing here with the tape. And I want a purple, so 8 3/4, so that's going to be 4 3/8. Right there's my middle. Okay, so there's that one. I'm going to turn it over and burnish. Now we're going to go and finish this one. And it's the same width, 1 1/4 by 8 3/4. Okay, set it down here in this corner. Follow this all the way up. Okay, that looks like that got cut just a little long. It did. So hold on here. Okay. So let me verify this. I'm okay. There. I do talk to myself a lot, so I apologize. This and back this off just a hair so that this ends right here at this page. All right, so that's what Oops, turn it up the right way. That's what we have now for the inner workings. Okay, so now we're going to close this up. And then we're going to work on these internal panels. So on this side, I trimmed out this piece. Uh-oh. I think I installed them wrong. Oh, shoot. Oh, well, I need to round these corners. That's silly girl. Oh, well. So that means everything's going to be on the opposite side. So that's actually the outside. What did I do? Okay, this is what's going on the inside here. So the Bewitched side of the book here, the tree side of the book here, and then I took this little ephemera piece because we cut off the witch and the cat down there, so we're going to replace that with an ephemera piece right here, the witch and the cat. And I've got to figure out what I did on the other pages. It happens. I get so much going on multiple builds at the same time, I kind of forget my own pattern. But it's all good. It all works out. And then we're going to put the witch. And her kitty cat down here across the bottom. All right, now we're going to close this up. There it is. And then this will go here. Now when I cut this piece first. And then I cut that to fit that panel. And then right here, out of the ephemera, we're going to put a little ghost and his pumpkin balloon down here on the bottom. All right, now these internal panels. That's the outside, so that means that's the inside. Okay, I'm getting it. That's the outside, so that's the inside. Okay, so now you're going to take this piece, cut to your big panel first, and then you'll cut to the small panel. I wanted to keep the cat, I wanted to keep this and this, so I trimmed it accordingly. On this side here, you can see there's kind of a booklet right there. Well, I took this cutout, mounted it onto black cardstock, made magnets. I didn't make the magnets. I put the magnets on, and it's going to go right there. On this side, I made a pocket. All right, so taking it out of scraps, this pocket is going to come across here along the bottom. This was the scrap piece I used. The reverse side has this on it. And then I took the small frame of a cat and I'm putting it right here. Now, right here is the magnet. So be mindful of that when you're putting permanent item. Maybe you wouldn't want to put a permanent item over that image, but be mindful of that. So I am going to tape this one in. I'm questioning now if I needed to actually round that other corner, but it's too late. It's going to get, one of them will get hidden when I put the pocket in. All right, so this pocket is going to measure 6 3/4 of an inch across by 3 1/2 inches. Now, remember, you're going to come just to the this side of that score mark out to your edge. If you find you need to trim it, it's better to trim it here than it is to actually lay here and then try to trim this. Not going to happen. But verify your measurement. So if you're measuring just in front of that score line out to the end, you'll see it's 6 3/4. So let's get this installed. I rounded the corner. And because I'm good on my measurements, I can go ahead and add it right here to this round corner and walk it across so it drops right in front of that hinge or that score line. And then this piece, we'll get this taped on here. Taped. I don't know what I'm talking about. Tape, glue. How about I just use the word adhesive? And then just in front of that score line, three, and is that my, it's 3/8. So 6, right there is my middle. And I think I'm going to use one of these black and green ones this time. just shake up the color format a little bit. And I should have about 1/16 of an inch of an edge there so that this will turn over and that gem does not interfere with this hinge line. All right, so let's sneak over here. Let's get this put in. So this little guy here measures in at 4.5 inches by 3 1/8, and then you're going to score it at 2 1/4 inches. I'm going to glue this to the outside. Now I have an option here. My brain is thinking, do I want to make this an available tuck from the bottom? Because it's going to sit just in a position that a side or a top will not work. So then I set my magnets. That's kind of a cool piece, but I went with these. This will fit a small photo, or you can do some journaling in here. So what I'm thinking about doing is just running some tape, 3/4 inch tape here, so when this goes down, you can also treat this as a tuck. So that's what I'm going to do. That way you get a couple of elements that you can play with on this particular side of this page here. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to cover that up. I've taped up across the top, and now we have a tuck. And then you still have your little pocket or your little photo mat. So now that completes this inside. You know what I was going to do, and I just saw it. Need to put some bling right here. Now I have a choice. What should I use for a gem? I have an orange one. So this is 8.5. It's going to be 4 1/4. So what shall I use? I've got purple here. You know what? I think I'm going to use this green. It's half green, half black. I think it will complement this a lot better. And then trim this. Right there. I need to back that off one. That's just not going to be acceptable. So before that's permanently down there, come this way a little bit, and then I can cut this excess one off here. Perfect. Perfect. Okay, there we go. Now let's close this. And then on the outside, we're going to use this piece, but I'm cutting it two different ways. I wanted this stem, this lantern, and the sky. And then I wanted this lantern and the little ghosts. So I came in here, I made my tick mark right here, and I cut it straight up. And then I made my tick mark here and cut it across. And then over here, I made my tick mark and I cut straight up, and then I cut the rest off the top. What that gave me, oh, I forgot to add the little kitty. He's over here floating around feeling lonely for himself. Here we go. Okay, so what that gave me off of this top cut, come here, off this top cut was there was a piece that had the ghost, a couple of ghosts, and the bat, and the moon. I fussy cut those out, and I'm going to put them right back here. I did mount them on some lightweight chipboard, and I'm just going to glue them down. And I can't remember quite what the angle was, but you get the idea. So that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm not going to do anything here. And what I am going to do here is I'm going to add some Wink of Stella to the inside of this lamp so that there's a little bit of a flourish going on up there. There we go. Now I want to roll back that excess tape. All right, so that's done. Close this. And we're going to add this. And once again, I'm going to use some Wink of Stella on this lamp. So I'll do that right now while I have my pen out. Now before I put these little guys on, I do want to get my bling added. And I think I'll use the very last, well, I've got two, so what's gonna look better here? That? I think I'm gonna go with the big green ones. So I'm at 8 3/4 to 4 3/8. Right there. Oh, that's ugly. Okay, well, I'm not going to waste it, so let's... Oh, it has a gem right smack in the middle. That is so messed up. Now I'm going to add the moon, the ghosts, and the bat. With that lightweight chipboard, it gives it just a little bit of a raised element. Okay, so there we go. We're done. This is the last of our signatures. Let's put some tape on the back and let's get it mounted, and then you can call it good. And I bet you're relieved. I certainly took you down several paths on this. And I feel bad for, well, I feel bad. And here we go. It sits in here just like this. And this height should be big enough to cover this black piece end to end. So that's what you're going to use as your guide. And we're going to go ahead and get some of this removed so that we can set it in place, and then I'll remove the rest of it. Let me get in here and burnish those pieces right away. Good firm burnish. All right, there we go. We're done. Thank you for playing along, and my sincere apologies for some of the waterfall issues, but I think we have them resolved. And I'm hoping that you like your album. I tried to do this collection some justice with the limited amount of images that I had to actually play with. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you don't find it too difficult to build. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. I would appreciate it. And then hit that little bell so that next time I post a video series, a playlist, you'll get notified. So until then, bye-bye.